Hello, everyone, and welcome. I just want to say, before we get started, thank you so much to the musicians who came tonight. Fantastic work. Thank you so much. I also want to give a special shout out to a guy who we wouldn't be here without. Who's actually not even here. He's out there manning the ticket booth. That's Garth Hagerman. Thank you, Garth, for putting on this event. So, my name is Michael Norman. I'm a volunteer organizer for the Mendocino Coast for Bernie Sanders, and I'm a community connector for the Bernie Sanders Grassroots Campaign. I'm very happy to be here tonight. I'm very happy to see you all here too. Thank you. I've written a short speech, short-ish, which I'm about to tell you right now. I'm going to read it in a moment. It's going to give you an idea of who we are, what we do, and why we do it. All right? So first off, thank you all so much for coming out tonight. This is truly an exciting night. This is Mendocino Coast for Bernie Sanders' first ever benefit concert. And we have some real talented local musicians here to give us a great show. We will also, as you know, be serving light snacks and refreshments, helping with voter registration, volunteer signups, Bernie campaign-related information, and of course, good conversation. Everything happening here tonight is either donated, volunteered, or funded by Mendocino Coast for Bernie Sanders and our friends.
Yeah.
Yes. So, we humbly ask that you be generous in your donations tonight, as that will support and allow for more great events like this in the future. We are a local volunteer group still in its early stages.
Yes.
We work on our own and directly with the larger Bernie Sanders campaign. We lend our time, our energy, and sometimes our money to our collective effort to influence positive change in our community and help Bernie Sanders get elected president. We do this because economic injustice and corrupt leadership is everywhere. We do this because the poor and underprivileged have been shamefully neglected.
Yes.
We do this because minority groups have been marginalized, suppressed, and demonized.
Yes.
Demonized by an establishment of power that seeks to divide and conquer for selfish wants rather than to enrich and uplift the great peoples of this nation.
Yes.
We do this because there must be an ironclad resistance to the rising tide of far-right extremism taking place right here, right now, at home, and across the world.
Yeah.
That's right. As babies are being separated from their mother's arms at our southern border,
Nightmare.
as crowds chant "send them back" about our fellow Americans, as our president calls violent hate groups nice people, we must listen. We must watch, and we must act.
Yes.
As Dr. King once said, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends.
Right. Yes.
We are those friends. We will not be silent.
No!
True patriotism is to love one's country enough to be willing to fight to make it better. We do this because the working class of America have been exploited for long enough. Because the workers of the world must unite. Because capital exists not but by the grace of labor. Human life matters tenfold to a dollar. We do this because lately the Democratic Party has felt like Republican light.
Yes.
Because our economic and governmental systems have been perverted and co-opted by business and industrial interests to almost exclusively serve their needs over the needs of the average American person. To the degree that up against titanic monopolies, now it's almost impossible for the average American to compete in the market, and it's impossible for the average multinational to compete ethically. We do this because human life and the environment have been undervalued for too long. because unchecked selfish individualism has gotten us into this mess, and only selfless collectivism can get us out of it. We do this because the scale of the problems that we face are vast and complex, and only collective action can actually address them. As Bernie says, not me, us. So, when people tell us that things are pretty much fine the way they are, it's just the guy at the top that's the problem. We know this to be false. Our current leadership is certainly an enormous problem. Unfortunately, it is a symptom of a much deeper and more fundamental problem. In these turbulent and precarious times of great suffering, inequality, and injustice, moderate incrementalism is not the solution. We cannot give up our bargaining position before negotiations even begin. And we will not be deterred by accusations of radicalism. If valuing human life more than private property makes you a radical, then call me a radical. Profound dysfunction requires radical change. Radical change requires bold and visionary leadership. Brazilian Archbishop Helder Câmara once said, "When I give food to the poor, they call me a saint. When I ask why the poor have no food, they call me a communist." That's right. We can't just point out what's wrong without providing a substantive alternative. Bernie Sanders and his policy agenda represent this alternative. From basic, dignified, and honest representation and leadership, to disentangling the patient from profits in our healthcare system, to providing free public colleges and universities for all of our citizens, all people in our country, and simply being the most consistent of his goals of any candidate. Yeah. Not to mention unionizing his own campaign staff. Right. What this candidate represents is the embodiment of the new direction that we want to and need to go as a society. Away from selfish individualistic greed and indifference, and towards selflessness, collectivism, and humanistic values. As Senator Nina Turner says, only all that we love is on the line. That's all. Yeah. We who are here tonight, we are choosing to take action to see that these injustices are addressed. After all, action is the antidote to despair. Yeah. So tonight, we aim to entertain, to inspire, and to equip you all and each other to get more involved. As a volunteer or as a contributor, to whatever degree we are each uniquely able. Our goals at this early stage are simple: to create and maintain an active presence for the Bernie Sanders grassroots movement out here on the Mendocino Coast. Thank you. And to effectively network and coordinate volunteer energy into direct, organized action that can help do our part, to exert positive influence in our country, in our culture, and in our communities. Yes. We want to help Bernie continue to change the conversation for the better. We maintain a consistent presence in the town of Mendocino every Saturday afternoon with our Bernie Mobile, taking donations and distributing information and swag. We organize volunteer efforts into direct action events coordinated with the campaign, such as phone banking and good old-fashioned door-to-door canvassing. Our arsenal of different events that we host and volunteer actions that we organize in our community is ever evolving, so please get involved. Simply donating to the campaign, publicly defending selflessness and collectivism with your friends, family, and colleagues, standing on the street corner with us every Saturday at noon in Mendocino, or signing up to host your own phone bank. Please get involved.
Or your own potluck.
Or your own potluck. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Andy. Yes, anything. We'll take all the help we can get. There are sign-up sheets and upcoming event information on the welcome table, sign-up table over there. And last, but certainly not least, please remember to register as a Democrat to vote in the primary on March 3rd.
Even if you're not a Democrat, right?
Yes.
I'm not.
Yes, it'd be far easier just to avoid any screw-ups, any puffery, to register as a Democrat in order to vote in the primary. Again, March 3rd, 2020. I'll stop talking in just a minute to get some more live music going and more good conversation. But I want to leave you with one last word from our very own economic and social justice activist, Dr. King. No, we are not satisfied. And no, we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Thank you. Power to the people.